Okay, I've had quite a few people ask me about the mask tutorial. So I have studied several tutorials. I have read from different hospitals what they're looking for. So this is what I came up with. You want to make sure that you're buying 100% cotton material. So if you go to Walmart, you can buy the 1 yards and it is 100% cotton. I could not find the 1/4 inch elastic, so I'm using seam binding for my strings. So what I did is I bought a bunch of cute little material, found some seam binding that matched the material I want. When you buy the seam binding, buy 2 packs of each color because you're going to get 3 strings out of each pack. So in order to keep it even, you need to go ahead and buy 2 of every color. Okay, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to come home and you're going to cut your material. So you're going to cut it into pieces that are 8 inches by 14 inches, okay? All the tutorials will tell you take this 1 piece of material and fold it in half. Well, that only gives you 2 plies of material. The hospitals are asking that you do 4. So you want to make sure it's 100% cotton, and you want to make sure it's a nice tight weave too. So what you're going to do is you're going to stack your 2 pieces of material on top of each other and then follow the directions. So what they want you to do is fold the material in half, and then you're going to just make sure it's all kind of nice and even and lined up. Then you're going to sew along this seam right here. So I have done that on this piece of material. So I've sewed that seam together. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take the 2 pieces, make sure you grab both pieces of material. I have 2 pieces just to kind of show you a little bit different here. And you're going to turn it inside outwards. Once you roll it inside outwards, what you're going to do is you want to go take the seam and you're going to press it along the edge of the seam to get that seam flat, and then you're going to press this out nice and flat. Once you do that, then what you're going to want to do is start pinning to make your pleats. Now, I read the tutorial, it got a little confusing, but I found it says to mark it. I kind of found the easier way for me. It may work for you. I'm going to take it off of that marker real quick. What you're going to do is from the bottom edge, which is the seam, you're going to measure up 1.5 inches, and you're going to put a pin. Then you're going to measure up 1 inch above that, 1 inch above that, and then 1.5 inches and put the next pin. And this pin is actually 1.5 inches from this end, so it doesn't matter which end you start from, it's going to be the same. What you're going to do at first is you're going to fold your material along the first pin. So it kind of tells you to fold it and crease it. Then you're going to flip that backwards, and you're actually going to match the first 2 pins. So your pin at 1.5 inches and your pin above it at 1 inch, you're going to match those. And what it's going to do is it's going to make a pleat. What you want to do is you want to put a pin in that pleat, which I have done on this side. So I have pinned down that pleat. Then you're going to take this next pin and you're going to fold the material at that pin and you're going to bring it up. What you want to do is you want to match the bottom of this pleat to the top of that other pleat. So it's going to match up right next to it. Then you're going to take the same thing. You're going to fold it on this pin and you're going to match it to the edge of that other pleat. And I'm going to show you once you pin it what it looks like. You see how your pleat is folded from here down. Your next pleat is folded down to the top of that pleat. This pleat right there is folded down to the top of that pleat. I don't know if you can really see it that good. But anyway, your pleats actually line up. So when you get through, it's going to be nice and pinned down. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take it over the sewing machine and you're going to sew along both edges of your pleats. I have done that as well. So here's what it looks like once you sew it down. So it'll be a little bit easier to describe that pleat. You see how the bottom of one pleat is at the top of the other one? Especially once you sew it, it makes it a little easier to see that the pleats just kind of match up once you do it. So I sewed a seam down each side, and what that did is that is holding my pleats in place. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my seam binding, I'm going to take it out of the package. Now my sister-in-law had measured the straps for me and they were 14 inches from the edge of the mask. Once I measured that and this, it was about 32 inches. Well, when I measured out the seam binding and the whole package, I can make 3 strips at 36 inches, so that's what I did. So all you have to do is just take it out, fold it in thirds, cut it, and you have 3 36-inch pieces. You don't have to really measure it. All right, so once you get your 36 inches pieces done, what you want to do is you want to fold it in half. You want to match your ends, fold it in half, and then you want to pinch in the center, just so you've got a good center line. Make a good little crease. Then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to open up the seam binding, and you're going to place this on top right there. Where you made your crease in the center, you want your center to line up with this middle pleat. So once again, I'm going to put this on top. I'm going to match the center of this with the center pleat. Right there, there's my center and my center. I'm going to pin this down over the edge. So once I pin it over the edge, once you pin it down over the edge, you will see that the seam binding is wrapped over on both sides nicely. So then what you want to do is on each end, on each one of these ends, you want to open up the seam binding completely. You're going to fold down the end, and then you're going to tuck it back in. So I'm going to fold this back in like that, and then I'm going to pin it shut. And what that does is that gives you a nice folded edge to sew down. So let me move to the next piece. So once you bring it over to the sewing machine and you've had that pinned down, you're going to sew across the edge a couple of times this way. And then on the open edge of the seam, you're going to sew the seam down all the way. Keep sewing. Sew right across on top of your mask. Sew all the way down to the other end. And then you're going to close up your other end as well. So you want to sew this way as well. Then what I did is I came back, since the strings are going to be pulling a lot off the mask, I sewed a few extra strips along this edge to make sure that I held that seam binding down really good on the mask itself. Like sometimes I sew 3, sometimes I sew 2. It just depends. It doesn't really matter. But just sew a couple of times to give it some extra strength. And once you get through, now it's ready to go. Now your mask is ready to wear. Wasn't that simple? One thing I really like about doing it with the tie straps instead of the elastic is that it makes it better for smaller faces or larger faces, because you can really adjust the tightness with the straps. So happy sewing, guys and girls.